It always comes to this. More nice shit. Morning, guys. Back again to do another tattoo progress update. This will be part 2 to my first session back blackout. I wasn't sure I would need to do 2 videos on this, but I really didn't want to drag this into like podcast territory where I'm talking for, 2-3 hours about this thing. But I've had a lot to say on this because I haven't said much about it, I've been keeping this one pretty close to the belt, and I didn't really want to get into, what I was going to do before I had anything done. I'm not a big fan of people who will promise you the world and they've got nothing to show you, So with all of my projects, until I've got something there, I'm not talking about it. Then I'll talk to you all about all the things I want to do with it and what it is and why it is. But I had mentioned that the session was about 5.5 hours, maybe 6 hours, and there was about 2-3 hours of fuck around getting the stencil on and getting the stencil put together. In truth, I had no idea what the final product of the back piece was going to look like until I got in here that morning. That's usually how I leave it. I had a million ideas, I had a ton of references, and I had some things that I needed to be in the tattoo, but I wanted Terry to do his original take on it. Especially now where like early on working with Terry, I had a lot more oversight. I did that specifically, and I still could have done that this time because he does defer to me on a lot of these kinds of things. But I wanted him to come up with something wholly unique because I wanted something I wanted a Krampus tattoo that hadn't been done before. So, fun fact is I actually had a Krampus tattoo, kind of, on my leg. I had a realistic Krampus to some degree on my left thigh, and it was done by a realism artist who had no idea who Krampus was what Krampus was when I first brought the idea to him, and I kind of had to fill him in on all of it, and he couldn't find a reference for Krampus to tattoo that he really liked that was realistic, so he ended up kind of like doing like kind of an evil Santa thing. Like it was, I don't know, it didn't really work out. And I think that like that whole thing, it probably would have been better today because like ChatGPT probably could have cobbled something together. If you had given it the right keywords, it probably could have spit out the perfect photorealistic Krampus. There's a couple artists at the shop here that have this, and I might actually try it and see what happens today. But like, there are people out there that are going to be like, oh man, ChatGPT is ruining the industry, and there's no art in that, and it's taking the art away. It's like, well, to be honest with you, the amount of time that I've been around tattooers, people would be stunned by how little drawing is done. There is still some, but it's not the art that a lot of people think it is. It's more technical than it is art. You can teach someone who can't draw how to tattoo, and they will do just fine. There are some real things that art will help you with as a tattooer, and being able to draw is definitely one of them, but you don't really necessarily need to be able to draw to tattoo. I know some tattooers who can't draw stick man. So, and I never really wanted to be one of those guys myself. I've been offered apprenticeships, and I have a good creative, design sense and imagination, but I don't want to be like, if I'm going to be an artist, I want to be an artist. Not to get too carried away on that. I came in and seen what Terry had put together. I had a few changes that I made to it because obviously it's permanent and you want to make a few changes, but for the most part I just rolled with what he had. And sorry, I'm still getting over I think I've got like an allergy or something. I don't think it's a cold. It's persisting. So anyway, I got in and I seen what he had, and it was the full color version of it. And obviously, it was the more realistic version of it, but it was smoother and softer. Whenever you're looking at the finished product, it's different than when you get the lines and you see kind of the limbs of the thing. And so, my initial reaction was like trying to figure out what this looks like as a tattoo, because pictures are one thing, but they never look the same as what the tattoo will in your skin. So there's this process that I do when I look at anything theoretical that's going to be tattooed, where it's like, what does this translate to in tattoo language? Like, it's a different thing. It's not even close to the same. And I seen it in my mind, like, and especially going over black, because all of the colors seemed too bright to me initially. And it's like, no, all of those are going to dull down, and it's going to be much more muted. And overall, the presentation will be darker. So this is no way to say I wasn't happy with the design, because I was. I like Krampus, and I like all different versions of Krampus. There were things that there was many different ways the whole thing could have developed, because there's obviously Krampus is not a real creature. It's not you're not going to find one of these fucking things out in the wild and go, oh, that's what a Krampus looks like. It's theoretical at best, and there's many different interpretations of what this thing would look like. I really liked the movie Krampus, where there's a demon in there, but he's behind a Santa mask, and so you've got that kind of festive look, but there's still a monster in there. And I really like the old classic Krampuses. So I feel like we got the best of both worlds, where there's some of both in there. And I actually really liked the Krampus movie, for what it's worth. There's probably people who are like, why do you care so much about this Krampus thing? And it's like, I've always been a big Christmas guy. And truth be told, I didn't know about Krampus until I was probably 20-ish. And so when I found Krampus, it was like I found like my thing. Like, it was like, oh, I've always loved Christmas, but like I didn't have, like, I wasn't a big like, oh, the Grinch is cool. Like, it was kind of like Halloween kids that liked Nightmare Before Christmas. Krampus was kind of my spirit animal. It's like, oh, it's dark and fun and festive, And I've raised my son to believe in the Krampus. We celebrate the Krampus, and we do St. Nicholas Night and Krampus Nacht and all that shit. And we used to put hoof prints in the snow outside our house, and I would drag chains around when he'd go to bed and shit like this. And the idea was like, if you're not good, Krampus will get you. But it was he always got a boot full of candy, when he woke up by his door. So he always made it. And he believed in that bullshit for quite a while. He doesn't anymore. I think he's 15 now. There's no way he believes in it anymore. But for a while, he would pretend for me. But I knew. I know. I didn't have any of that shit when I was growing up. I loved Christmas, and my mom always made it a special time of the year. And it was always the time of the year that you got all the things that you wanted, or not all the things, you got something you wanted. And so I always wanted to make Christmas special for my own family. But for me, I've got the kind of, I've had a darker, spookier aesthetic. And so, like, for me, when I found Krampus, it was like, this is my guy, And I've had all these fun Krampus sweaters over the years. Obviously, I'm wearing my Krampus plugs right now, and there's people out there who will know, I always wear these Krampus sweaters, and my wife gets me a new one every Christmas. It's kind of like just a running thing. I've got, Krampus t-shirts. I've got a Krampus button-up. I've had 2 Krampus button-ups. Like, I wear Krampus shit all year round. And so lots of people have said in my reacts, if you watch my show, I talk about this quite often. It's like, why don't you have a Krampus tattoo? And the reality is, like, I kind of never had the right space to do the size and style of Krampus that I wanted. I wanted a big, bold, recognizable Krampus face. And the issue is, too, If you don't do certain things, he does just kind of look like a devil. And if you don't know what it is, especially, you'll just be like, oh, why do you have like, what is that demon? It's like, it's not a fucking, Krampus is actually like more of a fairy or like a mischievous kind of satyr or like a goat man who just likes playing pranks and being a trickster and kind of having a laugh. And I kind of like that misinterpretation because I feel a bit similar to that where people may assume that I have a similar thing, like where it's like, oh, that guy looks evil or scary, or it's like, no, I'm more of an absurdist, actually. I like to find the humor in everything. I find most of life very, very humorous. There's always something to laugh about in the darkness, though. I used to take myself as something of a nihilist, but as I've grown older, I've become more and more of an absurdist. So there's actually some, if you want meaning, there's all kinds of reasons why this back piece is. And realistically, this should have been the back piece I had all along. It just didn't end up working that way because by the time I got to my first real back piece, I already had a big back piece. I had the first part of my back piece well before I finished my back piece, and it was too small, and so all of a sudden we had to turn that into a proper piece, and we did. It all looked good, and it even looked intentional, but it was never what it should have been. And there were some things in that first back piece that didn't really work out the way I wanted either, and they didn't work out for Lee the way he wanted to. That girl had the bottom girl had a bit of a derp face, and that's the case when you're doing small portraits. Is like if one little thing goes wrong, like it just kind of fucks it. And he's always like, I should have put a blindfold on that bitch. And, so even he was like Lee was happy when he seen it was blacked out. Lee being the original artist that did a lot of my black work and things like this. Like he was like, good boy, Terry. When Terry blacked it out, he was proud of him and happy. People always think that tattoo artists are going to be miffed when you're covering their work, but a mature artist that doesn't take themselves too seriously and, understands personal growth will never be upset about someone changing something. You'd be really insecure if you were. And there's only one artist that I worked with that got angry because I covered something. And that guy was super insecure. So, and it's probably because he's not a very good artist either. Well, he was a better artist than he was a technician, but I'm not going to get too much into that. The bottom line is this piece was always going to happen. I knew I wanted this back piece, this theme of back piece anyway. Maybe not this exact one. I didn't know what it would look like, but I knew I wanted a big, bold Krampus face on my back years before I committed to blacking it out. And it was always this colossal task of like, oh, I've got to black it out, and then I'm probably going to have to fucking touch the thing up because I don't want it to look like complete ass. And then I've got to fucking lay this thing out. It's going to be 20 fucking sessions or more. And, it was just like this colossal task when you're looking at it from the distance. And so that's why I had to get the blackout done quick and get it in the background and then not even think about it. Like immediately after the blackout was done, it was like, okay, what's next? Because like I don't want to take any amount of time thinking about it. I just wanted to get it fucking out of the way and move on. Like it wasn't like I was enjoying blackout anymore, as I said in the last video. Like the blackout is a particular feeling, and I've done more of it than almost anyone in the world ever will. And so like I kind of felt like, okay, I've been through this enough. I don't need to do this. And so I just kind of wanted to skip that part, as weird as that may sound. And the only way to skip it was to go through it aggressively and get to the other side of it, which is what I did. So now I get to have my fun, and the fun is going to happen fast. So this piece is going to progress quick. I'm going to back up, try and show it off here. I don't know if that's doing the job. It's hard to show a back piece. But here's hoping I did something there. I have no idea if I did anything there or not. And it's just lines right now, so it's going to be hard to see anyway. But this thing's going to progress fast. In 3 weeks' time, Terry and I are going to do the full first pass of probably the face and the horns. And maybe some of the cloak. You can't really see the cloak right now, but there's going to be a bright, or not bright red, it's kind of a medium red cloak around the face. And I'm going to have some blue highlights in places around the thing. Light blue highlights to pop it off and give it a wintry chill. And it's going to have gold tones in it as well. There'll be gold in the bell and some gold framing around his face. Just kind of tie the whole thing together. And the light blue is something I'm really want to do because I want it to look like it's got this kind of wintry glow on it. And, it's gonna be a process, but it's not going to be the same arduous undertaking as this sleeve has been. So this thing's going to develop fast. It's not going to develop slow. We'll be into second pass territory probably by 5 or 6 sessions in. So I would say the whole thing will be between 15 and 20 sessions. It could be longer if I want to do extras to it, but don't expect me to be making tweaks to it the way I have with my sleeve, because I have a more or less complete finished product in mind. It's I know exactly what I want this to be, and it's not experimental for me. This is a very clear road that I'm on to the picture that I've had in my mind more or less for a long time. And so it's going to be a done deal quick, and it's going to look very good quick, and there's going to be no fuck around about it. And I think it's going to be still technically one of the most insane projects that's ever been done, because it's just the ambition of it, the scale of it. How many of these, you see some color on black projects, they're usually about yay big. This is a fucking full back, and we're going to kill it. This is the most confident I've been about any project we've started on black, because it's just line them up, knock them down now. There's no, I wonder if this works. I wonder if this thing would help. I wonder if this would, there are still things that I wonder about, sure, but I'm not doing any of those here. We are going straight for bread and butter and straight for nuts and bolts, and we're going to make this thing bold as fuck, punchy as fuck, readable from any distance, and you'll have people like who seriously would never be able to know this was done over black. I can guarantee you. Anyway, I will be showing it off as it progresses. We're going to take 3 weeks off, let the lines heal, and then we're going to be hammering this thing out week after week. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.